Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. I'm Erin Summers. Through 2 weeks, the Saints are the number one scoring offense in the league, averaging 45.5 points a game. And that's not all. I'm sure you've heard all about it. 91 total points. The last two teams that scored 91 plus points in the first two games went on to win the Super Bowl that season. The word is out. This Saints team is cooking under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, and the defense hasn't lost a step. With the Eagles coming to town Sunday, probably out to prove something after that last-minute loss to the Falcons on Monday night, how will the Saints handle the noise? Head coach Dennis Allen and quarterback Derek Carr aren't worried.
Well, I would say this. I would say nobody should be eating any cheese in week 2 of the season going into week 3. You know, like, it's early. You know, and when you watch the tape, you look at it and you'd say, yeah, we did good things, okay? But there's still a lot of things that we have to clean up and that we have to be, better at. And so that's really where you have to try to focus. I thought our guys came out today. I thought they had a focus. I thought they had an intensity. I thought they prepared well. They were into the plan in all 3 phases. So that's the formula for success. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but if you don't do those things, it makes it very difficult to have success.
I think we've been kicked around a little bit too much to where we just don't even care, what people think. Right now we're the greatest thing ever. If you ask anybody, and to us, it's like when we go in there, we've always believed in each other. I've always believed in that defense. They've always believed in our offense. We've always believed, and we've communicated that to each other. And we grind and we grow together. There's things, Foster challenged me on something today, and then I challenged another guy. And that's just kind of what I guess the bubble that we're living in, And if we want to have success, we got to keep doing what we've been doing. We can't get too high. The stuff from the world is, it's fleeting. It is. I've heard MVP chants in a stadium. I've also been booed in the stadium. I've heard both, and neither of them matter. You just got to keep working, stay true to who you are, and just be a great teammate and try your best on Sundays, and throughout the week. So, there is a challenge there for sure, but hopefully our leadership and the guys that have been through it a little bit can just keep the same message we've had.
While the Eagles have struggled defensively, ranking 30th in total defense and bottom 10 versus pass and rush, their offense is always a threat with Jalen Hurts under center. Hurts' ability to use his legs is a big focus for the Saints this week. Last week, Hurts had 85 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. The last time he faced the Saints, November 21st, 2021, Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns.
And look, I think certainly Hurts' ability to hurt you, no pun intended, with his feet makes him a significant challenge to have to deal with, whether it be he's perfectly capable of just drop back pass, throwing the ball from the pocket and delivering the ball on time. And yet when he begins to scramble, it makes life challenging in the back end. They do a good job of getting to the secondary play and uncovering and getting themselves open. I think his ability to run the football makes things more challenging in run defense because they can have the runner, Saquon Barkley, going this way with some sort of counteraction with the quarterback keeping it on the backside. They make you play 11-on-11 football, and they do a really good job of it. I think they got a really tough scheme.
Our podcast today is someone who can give us a little insight into how you prepare for a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts. We're talking to linebacker Pete Werner. Before we get to Pete, want to do a quick injury report from Wednesday's practice because cornerback Marshawn Lattimore was back on the practice field. He was a limited participant. Head coach Dennis Allen said that the expectation is to ramp him up throughout the week, and then the hope is for him to be able to go Sunday against the Eagles. Not at practice, however, was offensive lineman Landon Young. He is dealing with a foot injury, and then Taysom Hill, who is out with that chest injury. We'll have updates throughout the week on all of of those players, but it is good news that Lattimore is back. Now for Pete Werner. Pete, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's been really fun start to the season, 2 big wins. You guys talked about how hard training camp was. How good does it feel to see that hard work pay off?
It feels great. You know, we had this vision in our head. We have a standard. How hard are we going to play? And what we put on the field is, what we think is going to show up in the game. And I think everybody bought in. Everybody believed. We know we have so much talent. But what I really think was the difference is that everybody had a different mindset going in. Like, we have so much talent on the team. Why can't we be that great team? Why can't we do that? And I think that we've shown that in these first few games.
Historically, the Saints have always had a really good defense. How do you think they've kind of turned it up a notch?
We have great leaders on this team. They've obviously been a part of great defenses in the past, but when you're a great player and you got great leaders like Cam and DeMario, they always want to be the best every single year. So I think the standard always it revises itself, and I think that what has worked well in the past and what is needed to fix to be a great defense, and I think we're getting closer to try to be that.
You signed a new contract right before the season kicked off. Being able to put that away and then focus on the season, how do you not kind of like get complacent and be like, all right, I got it, I got my new contract?
I think I'm obviously very thankful to be a part of this great team and stay within this organization. But then again, you're paying guys that trust in the team and want to go out and execute and want to go out and win. So I think that's just added pressure to go out and win and go out and compete. And the guys that they pay, they always tell you the best players got to show up. And DA mentioned it last year, but the guys with commas and their contract, they got to be the best players and they got to go out there and execute. So I'm very thankful. But then again, I think it's just added pressure to go out there and compete and then be dominant on defense.
You said it's added pressure. How do you handle that?
I think it starts with preparation. You got to have that beginner's mentality, going out and competing and doing all the little things right. But if you're competing and preparing in practice and doing all that, then I think the pressure should continue to go away slowly. Speaking
of preparing, when you sit down, watch film, as a linebacker, you're keying in a lot on the running backs. What's the first thing that you're looking at? What do you notice?
I think there's a lot of things. As a linebacker, you got to see, the offensive linemen. You got to see running backs. What are their tendencies, alignments, and then also you have coverage to worry about too. But specifically with running backs, I think it always starts with alignment. Where are they lined up? That can help me play a little bit faster, and this different formations. Why are they lined up with this certain formation? Is it 3-by-1? Is it 2-by-2? Where's the tight end's alignment compared to the running back? The alignment will tell you a lot. And then it gets into the path, the initial path of the running back. Is it wide angle? Is it a tight angle? You're only going to see a few run plays given in different formations. So as long as you can, dim it down to just a few plays, so I can expect this, then you're going to be playing fast. And then after you get down to that, then you start to see how well does this running back play? Is he a good spin move guy? How is he out in open space? We're playing a guy like Saquon Barkley this week, so he's one of the best guys out in open field, so we'll have a great challenge. But those are some things I'll be studying is what does he do on the open field? How is he between the tackles? And certain things like that.
You mentioned Barkley, but there's also Jalen Hurts, who's the quarterback, somebody who does use his legs a lot, designed runs.
Yes.
What do you look for there? What do you guys need to do?
Yeah, he's a guy that's, he throws the ball extremely well, but he also looks like a running back out there. And you see Hurts all these teams with his feet. He's a great downhill runner. He can create a lot of confusion on defense, and he can extend plays with his feet. I think it starts with, containing the quarterback, having great rush integrity. But at the end of the day, if you have great, coverage, then you just got to have great rush lanes and, rally and be very smart when it comes to running quarterbacks and just keep the proper angles, proper leverage, and get them down.
DA was just asked by the media, the run defense looks a lot better. It was something that was the focus of improving over the offseason. But this is going to be a big challenge. So how do you approach that? Do you like a challenge? Do you kind of get geared up for it? Are you guys out to prove that this is for real, the run defense is better?
Right. I think that what we've shown so far these first few games is the expectation. That's how we have to do, and how we have to compete and how we have to stop the run week by week. I think that it is, going to be a challenge. We like that and we accept that. But then again, we got to go out and continue to do what we have done. Everybody's got to play their job. With teams like this, where there's a lot of added elements with the quarterback run, everybody's got a certain job, and you just have to do that. Don't try and do somebody else's job. You just have to be very smart, but also very violent when it comes to a physical offensive line and great skill players. What
traits make up a good linebacker?
I think there's a lot. I mean, there's so many. I think that obviously your knowledge and you have to be smart to play this game. You have to be athletic. With this new the NFL, the game has not played like it was in the 90s, the 80s, where you got these big, beefy linebackers. Everybody's fast. So I think you have to be athletic. You have to be very, very smart. And then you also have to be very, very physical. You got to be able to fit the run. You got to be able to, be in the right lanes and coverage. But it starts with knowing what to do and then going out and executing.
People talk about the quarterback. Obviously, he's the one telling everybody on the offense what to do. Who's your quarterback of the defense?
I think it's the linebackers.
Yeah.
I think they have a tough responsibility with knowing how you got to fit the run and then also have, coverage responsibilities. I think it varies, though, with different teams. I know that our linebackers have a lot of, added responsibility for getting everybody set up. But then some teams, it could be their safety, just because they can see the whole field. They could make the checks, make the calls, tell everybody to play. It depends on the defensive scheme, but I think that linebackers, knowing that they have to fit the run and be in coverage, and they kind of have to be that quarterback to get everybody going.
You're in meetings before practice, and there's practice, and then you're in more meetings. Mm-hmm. How much homework do you go home and do? And I'm not going to tell on you. I'm not going to go tell Hodges that Pete doesn't do any, because I know they keep track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they keep track. So, they can pull up my numbers right now. I think that you have to get in your iPad. You got to watch. You have to have a routine. Is what it starts with. You always have your first, second down days. Go to third down, and then it gets into situational football. But spending 30 minutes to an hour in the morning before meetings, and then obviously at night where you have your big chunk of time, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. We watch so much film in meetings, but there's always extra pieces that you can get from going home and watching film. Mm-hmm. Whether that be yourself from previous games, whether you're showing different tendencies that they might attack, or just watching their offense, seeing formations and certain things like that.
How much film do you watch on yourself?
On myself? Oh, I would say I watch more film on myself in the off season.
Okay.
I'm trying to this year more watch myself on film throughout the season, because offenses see what you do. They see how you play certain plays. So if I can fix a certain thing I'm doing on defense to make me play a little bit faster, then I'm going to try and do that. But it starts in the off season, really, perfecting your craft. But then it gets into the offensive, preparation, watching them, but also finding a little bit of time, to perfect and, continue what you're doing well, and also eliminating the things you haven't done well.
I hate listening to myself back. I hate watching myself back. But you have to do it.
Yes, you have to.
That's the only way you can get better.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a fun part of the process, to be honest with yourself and
especially
say, man.
when it's not a good play.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to watch this, but I have to.
Exactly. Those were not words that made sense that came out of your mouth. During the off season, there was a lot of talk about building culture and getting back to what the Saints culture was. There are a lot of activities that you guys did together. What was one of the favorite things that you did?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things that we did, obviously you have all these golf events that we do. I'm a big golfer, so I like that. But just spending time at dinners, I think, is maybe the most powerful. Just you're talking to guys, you're not necessarily doing as many activities, just understanding and, you know, getting closer and creating that chemistry with one another, I think is the most important, which I probably had most fun with. Didi DeMario talked about, you know, the power of unity, and maybe it wasn't as strong as it was the past few years, but if that's going to be, you know, the difference maker, then we're going to try and spend as much time with each other as we can.
Camp obviously allowed you guys to spend a lot of time together in a confined area. Anybody that you talked to or spent time with that you wouldn't have ordinarily?
I would say this is the closest I've ever been with everybody in the linebacker room.
Yeah.
That is 100%. That is the biggest starting point. But then, you know, just like offensive guys, like offensive linemen that you're not necessarily as close with, you don't have anything to do but to socialize with guys. I'm sitting down at lunch tables with maybe some scouts. Like, it could be anybody. But nobody in particular, just, you know, sitting down and, you know, and chopping it up with different guys.
Yeah. We talked about your contract a little bit ago. How much of it's going towards a wedding?
You know, I am very, very thankful. My fiance, Emily, she's an only child, and her parents are going to be her parents are doing all of the work right now. I'm there for, you know, any questions they might have, but they are going to take care of it. So I'm extremely blessed in that point. But anything I can do to help, I try to be there. But there's sometimes where they might ask for my help and I say the wrong thing, and then I'm yelled at. So I just try and stay out of it. But, you know, I'm thankful that she and I are both very fortunate. So I'm just excited for that day when it comes.
So they want your opinion, but only when it like works with theirs.
Yes. When it comes to anything design, do not ask me. I don't know what looks good.
Color scheme.
Colors are terrible. No. But when you talk about like groomsmen, like dance ideas, like I'd like to get a little piece in that.
Are you a good dancer?
No, I'm not. I'm not a good dancer, but, you know, I like to think that maybe one day I will be.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will have to take lessons for your first dance and do all that.
We will. Yeah, I need it too. She'll say that she doesn't need it, but I think she needs it as well.
You got engaged in March, is that right?
Yes, got engaged in March, and then March 22nd is our date back in Indianapolis.
Okay. Yeah, from Indianapolis, how different is that from here?
Completely different. I've been in the Midwest my whole life. Obviously went to Ohio State and Columbus for college. And then I get the call to come to New Orleans. Had no idea what it was going to be like. And, you know, I love it, though. I like to be out, be in a different vibe half the year. So it's 1 year, I'm back to where I'm from, where I'm comfortable. And then another part is, you know, getting closer with a completely different city, but one that you're continuing to grow and love.
Yeah, I've seen you out and about at Mardi Gras doing the parades and stuff like that. So it seems like you're enjoying some of the culture here and the food. And then you mentioned golf. You played in the Zurich Classic a couple times, and then you did the NFLPA golf tournament as well.
Yeah.
How are those events?
They're amazing. They're so much fun. I think that the PA does a great job of, you know, creating these trips in the off season and, you know, putting them in the right spots where, you know, you might have training going on, but we're going to give you this week off here that's relatively early. And it was in Cancun. It was a great Mayakoba out there. It was awesome. So I continue. I hope I get the invite back next year. But if I can golf and I got great weather involved, and that's always going to be a plus.
Yeah, how do the invites work? Do they scout you on your golf ability?
So Will Lutz asked me last year to be his +1, but I don't know if – I know that the guys that won, the team that won, I know they get that automatic invite back, but they're trying to, you know, get new guys every single year. So I don't know if – I'm just a one and done because I know guys have gone there a few years in a row or not. So I hope I do though.
You got second, right?
No, we didn't get second. We were later. We did win closest to the pin though.
Okay.
Won closest to the pin. That was a big highlight. So I was actually the one that, you know, hit it 5 or 6 feet from the pin. So I got everybody these new nice putters, but we weren't close to making the tournament, which is sad.
I talked to Blake Ruby last week, and he said he was at the Zurich and played there. How's his golf game?
He's pretty good. I played with him a few times. I would say that he didn't play very well at the Zurich. Maybe that was
because that's what he said. He said he didn't have a good showing.
Maybe that was because he was with his old coach, Brian Kelly was there, so maybe he was a little bit nervous. I was playing with Deuce McAllister, who was awesome, and we were playing very well, so that was fun. But back-to-back champs there, that was a great time.
How far can Deuce hit it?
If he gets a hold of it, I think it's 300.
Jeez.
He can smoke it, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. You come from a family that played football. Your father played in college and then went on, played in the NFL a couple years, and it just so happens that he played for the Eagles.
He did, yeah.
How did you grow up? Did you grow up a fan of any team? Does he talk about them?
Yeah, he had a short career in the NFL. He played just over 2 years. We were never big fans of he started with the Jets, then went to the Eagles. We were never big fans of the Jets and Eagles growing up. We were big fans of the Colts, though. So I grew up having season tickets, big Peyton Manning fan. So we're, he might tell you he's a Saints fan right now, but, he's always a Colts fan at heart. But yeah, we were always big Colts growing up.
Yeah. So this week doesn't really mean anything in that regard.
I wouldn't say so for him. I don't think he follows the Eagles at all anymore now.
You are going to see somebody on the other side of the field that you were very close to recently in Zach Bond.
Yes.
He's been doing well over there, kind of gotten a new opportunity. How is it when you see players that, especially that you were in the same position group with and you'd spend a lot of time with?
Yeah, it's awesome. I see guys like Caden Ellis excelling and doing very well. Zach Bond's another one. Eric Wilson when he was here, now with the Packers. I think, I've seen so much of what Zach can do, and to see him excel and play well, I knew that was going to happen. I mean, he's such a smart player. He's very athletic. He can do so many different things on the field. But to see him do well, I knew it was going to happen. So I'm happy for him, and but I don't want him to play too well this week.
It's one of those things because you guys aren't ever on the field together.
No.
So it's not like you're playing against him, really.
Right.
But you still want to win.
Still want to win, yeah. We're never on the same field with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be weird. I'm sure it's more weird for him. He's going to be in the way locker room now.
Yeah.
So maybe some added pressure, just being on the different side, playing in the dome, but not being on the complete opposite side.
What do you think the Dome is going to be like on Sunday after going away and having a huge win in Dallas?
Well, I think ticket prices are already a lot more expensive. So I think it's going to be loud, and obviously our history with the Eagles, a very competitive, team going back and forth. I think it's going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be hard to make some communication checks on third down with how loud it's going to be going against them. But that just, that is the best part about it. So I'm looking forward to that.
How much family, friends are you going to have here?
I'm going to have a few. I got some cousins, parents in town.
Nice.
Fiance is going to be there. And Allie Bond, Zach's wife, is going to be there and sit with my fiance. So it'll be a lot of fun. They were best friends when she was here, so that'll be great to see her.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you spending some time talking to me, breaking down film and everything else that you watch. And good luck this weekend. We're really excited for the way things are going, and hopefully another big win.
I know it. Let's chase 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate Pete giving us the time. He was inundated with meetings today. There is a lot going into planning for the Eagles this weekend. Yeah, we talked about it. The Saints are not riding the hype train. They are locked in and they're focused. I want to give a shout out to several Saints legends for being nominated for the 2025 Pro Football Hall of Fame class that was announced today. Guard Jari Evans was again nominated after being a finalist last year. Running back and returner Darren Sproles is a first-time nominee. Also nominated are Jake Delhomme, Ricky Williams, John Kuhn, Terry Allen, Lorenzo Neal, Joe Horn, Jeremy Shockey, Leroy Glover, Kevin Williams, and Eric Allen. You can find more info on that on our site at NewOrleansSaints.com. And before we wrap this up, also, got to give it to running back Alvin Kamara because he was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 receiving, 180 scrimmage yards. absolutely killed it versus the Cowboys. Very deserving of that honor, the third NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor for Alvin Kamara. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll have more as we really get into that matchup against the Eagles on Friday's podcast.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast.